It's really important to start building your relationships with credit cards, with the banks, making sure all your bookkeeping's in order. These are really the foundations financially for your business. You're going to get much more value for all that time, effort, and struggle that you've put into your business.
Hey, this is Dennis Consorte with Snackable Solutions, and I am here with Michael Moran. How are you?
Doing well.
And by the way, do you go by Michael or Mikey?
Pretty much everyone calls me Mikey unless you're my sister or girlfriend. So how about we'll stick with Mikey here for this interview?
I am definitely not your sister or girlfriend.
Nope, don't fit that category today.
All right. That sounds like maybe something that someone would call you if they were angry at you, perhaps.
Yeah, most definitely. Yes, for sure. My mom used to call me that. You would hear, my God. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. But for sure. I actually went by Mike, switched to Mikey because I could never, forever, I was trying to get, this is back in the early 2000s, trying to get michaelmoran.com and I could never get it. And I'd gotten mikeymoran.com. So I was just like, okay, cool. Even, 15 years ago or so since I've had the domain, I was like, I need to do for my personal branding, I need to focus on Mikey, which is kind of random, but fun fact.
Cool stuff. Now, that's not what I see on your hat. Tell me about that.
Oh, I didn't realize what hat I was wearing today. It's Hair Biz Radio. So I actually have a podcast for our business. Myself and my co-host Zakira, we have a weekly podcast that comes out. It's all about the hair industry. So I'm in the beauty industry and it's actually great for all entrepreneurs, but it talks about how to start a business, struggles in a business, how to be consistent in a business, all that kind of stuff. And then we have guests on all the time that are generally in the beauty industry, but then we'll bring in people from marketing and other kind of stuff. It's been a great way to connect with potential clients. Actually, some of the guests that come in to be on our show end up working with us in some sort of capacity. It's similar to why I'd love doing podcast interviews like this, is because I meet other entrepreneurs like yourself. And it's just a great way to meet people, really. It's been great for our business.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually do this because I get so many people coming to me for help and I can't help everybody. So I've got this channel to help small businesses with simple ideas. And we'll talk about one of your ideas at the end of the interview.
For
But before
sure.
we get into that, I'd love to hear about how you got into the hair business. What's your story?
Yeah, the idea came up in 2013 when my business partner and I were just at lunch trying to think of the next big idea. And he was telling me how his girlfriend would spend all this money at a hair salon and the products. And I said, wow, this is pretty interesting. After doing a little bit of research online at the time, not many people were selling hair or still a lot of items online back in 2013. So we thought it would be an interesting time to get into the market. I knew absolutely nothing about it, but when we start a product, most of the time when we first learn about a product, we don't know anything about it. So it is what it is, but I'm a product guy. And prior to that, I did business overseas in Thailand. So I had pretty good knowledge of sourcing products and branding and everything else. So we launched it. My idea was, hey, let's just get this going and let's see where we can take it. I had no idea it would be as big as it is today as it continues to grow and more people become involved. So it's been a journey. It looks great today, but it's definitely been a rocky road.
Now, your private label business, that was on the Inc. 500?
Yeah. So in 2018, we made 278 in the Inc. 500. In 2019, we made 535, and that's with zero funding, very, very small initial investment, and a whole lot of hard work and sacrifice.
I can imagine what that's like. And on the funding side, that's also a difficult journey. I'm in the middle of that right now with one of my clients. So I've been down both paths, and power to you for doing all of
Yeah,
that.
thanks. Sometimes I think funding's an easy way out. Sometimes it's just 100% necessary. It can stunt your growth, but I've just been really careful about reinvesting in our business. And that's something that we did for the first 2.5 years. I never took a dollar out of the business. I mean, literally, I was working a full-time job. I had my first 3 employees. I was technically employee number 4. And I didn't pay myself a dollar for 2.5 years. And I think that really helped build a foundation for the company. As hard as it was to do, it had to be done.
Yeah, again, been there. I survived on ramen noodles for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were in the hair business, you're helping small businesses, and you're doing podcasts. I also saw some videos where you're out in the open, you're talking about stuff, there's skylines behind you. Tell me about some of that.
Oh, wow. So we actually have a lot of stuff we do. We have the podcast, we have multiple online websites, we have partnerships with celebrities to be the back end of their brand. And then I've kind of been working on my life design over the last few years to be able to travel, to be able to work remotely. As much as I love being in the office on the day to day, I mean, I'm at my office now and I truly do love coming here. I find that a lot of times, a lot of my creative ideas, big ideas, or I have different breakthroughs when traveling. So I do like to go to some pretty amazing locations, whether it's remote, whether it's in the middle of a city. I actually just got back from 10 days in Paris. It's amazing to experience different cultures, different people, have a better understanding of the world and life in general. And I think it really helps with my business. And I'm a credit card rewards points junkie. So most of these trips that people see me on, I make it very clear, like, yes, I'm here. It's amazing. Like I'm flying Delta One, the lay flat suites and everything. I didn't pay a penny for any of this because I was really strategic with how we do our credit card points.
Now, that's a really good point you brought up. Would you say that if somebody were starting a small business or a startup, should they be looking at those kinds of strategies? What other financial things should they be looking at?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, at this point, and even the credit card rewards, which is it's a fun game to me, right? And it's related to a lot of things in business where people say, "Well, it's a new business. I'm not really spending that much now," and that's not the point. The point is you have to learn how to manage and do all this stuff at a smaller scale in the beginning. Because if you just overnight had the buying power and the spending power that we do today, you would be completely lost, right? So you have to go step by step, and it's a progression to grow your business. Because where I am today is great, but I know there's people that are infinitely much further ahead to where I am today. And I just haven't learned how to get there yet. So it's just a process. So if you're just starting out, definitely, I always like to say, if you're spending money, you should be getting something back. And that's either credit card like rewards points or cash back. I don't even have a debit card for me personally or for my business. I just think they're a waste. So it's really important to start building your relationships with credit cards, with the banks, making sure all your bookkeeping's in order. These are really the foundations financially for your business, which is going to help it grow in the long term. And you'll continue to build those relationships. And as you need more money or more credit, it's generally going to be more accessible because you've started in the beginning building those relationships.
Yeah, and I really liked what you had to say about self-funding your business because I feel like that's how you build these good habits. If you're spending your own money, you're going to be responsible with it. Versus sometimes when people start out and automatically they've got a couple $1 million in funding, they tend not to be quite as responsible. Is that what you say?
Yeah, it's funny because I've talked to, especially after the ink stuff, private equities reaching out to us and they're like, well, a lot of founders like to take a couple $1 million off the table and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, okay, 5 years ago, I was completely broke, like negative. My other businesses failed. I was negative, and I speak very openly about that. What the hell am I going to do with a couple $1 million? Like, I'm just happy to have some money in the bank at this point. There's no way I need this. And I think it's more of a distraction, and you start losing focus on how to really grow your business and how to continue to do it strategically. And I think once you get to the point where you grow it big enough, taking out a couple $1 million, maybe doing private equity, it's something we still are not interested in doing. They're taking a much smaller chunk of your business. So it's that instant gratification of getting that money sounds good, but really, if you can push it off as long as possible, you're going to get much more value for all that time, effort, and struggle that you've put into your business.
Yeah, and I want to go back a little bit because it sounded like you had a point of failure in the past and you were resilient enough to come back from that. And resilience today, especially, is so important. Can you tell us a little bit about that story? What happened and how you got out of that hole?
Yeah, I mean, you said point of failure. I had more dots than my monitor, a 4K monitor over here. I mean, I didn't go to college, and sometimes college is great for people to learn. Some people, it's just not good for people. And I just kind of learned through moving forward through failure. So my first real business I started in 2006, and it was going well for a while, but we went through the financial crisis, and what really actually killed me wasn't even the financial crisis as much in the US as the weak dollar. So I was buying products in Thai baht. And when I first started, it was 40 baht per dollar. And by 2010, it was like 28 baht per dollar. So anyone that's even remotely good at math can figure, holy cow, like your dollar is worthless at that point. Not worthless, but it's worth 3/4, 75% of what it was. And I'm like, yeah. And margins on food were really tight. So I got squeezed out. But I wasn't smart enough to kind of hone down on expenses. I was not even close to as diligent about expenses as I am today. So when that failed, it really put me in a bad position. I had to actually ask my family for help. I was starting other types of businesses, trying to just get something off the ground. Nothing really clicked. I was getting close with one project, but I was in a bad partnership with my business partner. He was the developer and I was the other kind of the front end marketer and kind of getting clients and everything else. He just didn't feel like developing anymore. I mean, we built this amazing product. We're getting in Rolling Stone online. We did music in the cloud, like before Google, before Apple, and had some pretty cool ideas with it. So yeah, I was broke and really broke for a while. And when I started this business, I said, okay, I'm going to do things different. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to do things the right way. And it definitely worked out.
That's a pretty crazy story. Before I go to the next piece, you did mention the weak dollar. And today we are in the middle of inflation like there's no tomorrow. We're at the highest level in 30 years. Is this something that small business owners and startups should be thinking about? Any advice on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to affect all of us differently, but it's definitely not something good. And for us, we've built a nice solid foundation. So I think we've been pretty resilient at weathering different storms that have come through over the years. And this is going to be another one. Hopefully, we can figure out how to get out of this position fast as far as the country as a whole, but expect to pay more. Your employees are going to need to be paid more. So your expenses as a business are going to go up. And as your business expenses go up, you're probably going to have to raise whatever pricing. If it's a physical product or it's a service, those are going to go up. But I think that it's as a whole, everyone is pretty well understanding of this kind of stuff. So the real key is take care of your team, take care of those around you, and do the absolute best to take care of your clients, and just be very upfront with them and say, hey, if you have to raise the price, say, hey, our costs have gone up dramatically. We've kind of waited as long as we can. And I think if you're upfront and honest with them, they generally will have a better understanding. Maybe give them a little bit of warning would help. Just don't do it overnight. But it's something that we're all going to have to deal with.
I think you're right. And another tactic that I've seen is sometimes companies aren't raising prices, but they'll reduce discounts. Or you have this trend of shrinkflation where soda cans used to be 12 ounces and now they're like 7.6 ounces. So
Right.
there's some of that too.
Yeah, there's definitely a game to play a little bit with it. For us, we had to raise our prices through COVID because a lot of our products, there were shortages and the labor costs for the production went up. So some of our production has actually started going down, but we have to keep the pricing where we were just to kind of keep up with the other rising costs. So we're doing our best kind of playing that game of like, don't piss off the clients and customers, but then also you have to still make revenue because you got bills and you got to pay for stuff. And if you disappear, then it's not going to be good for anybody. So it's definitely kind of like a seesaw effect with pricing, products, and everything else.
And you also deal with physical products. How have the supply chain issues affected you? And do you have any creative solutions for some of that?
Yeah, we actually did phenomenal during the struggle with the supply chain. Over the last few years, I've actually spent a lot of times overseas, tons of time in China, working directly with our manufacturers. We've actually partnered on projects over the years as well. So I have really good relationships, and I can tell you it was a lifesaver when everything in China was shutting down, and basically they weren't supposed to even leave their house. And I have teams of people shipping us a very large quantity of products because I knew that the entire market of supply coming into the market here in the US was going to be cut off for 3-4 weeks, maybe a month before they figured things out, started ramping back up. So luckily with my relationships, I was able to really stockpile a lot of products because I knew shortages were coming on certain lace products that are used for like wigs and other things. And I tell you, I probably had one of the bigger stockpiles in the whole city of Atlanta, which is the epicenter of hair, because my teams overseas were saying, okay, there's major issues, the production's not happening, all the supplies that were built up over time is all diminishing. And I was just going around and buying everything. And when everything went dry, everyone came to us, and we did very, very well, planning way ahead of all of this.
That's a great takeaway. So it sounds like planning and relationships are super important when it comes to business.
Yeah, it's major. I mean, the relationships go such a long way that it can really make or break how quick you can succeed in business.
Yeah, and that brings me to the next piece. You've got some amazing stories here, and I'd love to hear about your book, Fearless Beauty. Tell me that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. So Fearless Beauty, that's it right there if you're watching. So Fearless Beauty, I think one of the more honest approaches written about entrepreneurship. So when COVID hit, it was the first month or two in, I said, holy cow, I'm not traveling for a while. So perfect time to do a book when I'm not running around all over the world. It was something that I'd wanted to do for some time, but I wanted to make sure I reached a certain level in business before doing this book. I think we're so used to seeing these people on Instagram that are like doing these classes and all this other kind of stuff, and they've never even had a business. Maybe they grew a big following on social media, but that doesn't mean you know how to run a business. So I said, you know what? I want to make sure that I've reached a certain level, which was being an 8-figure company. And when I was there, I said, okay, now I feel like I'm ready because I've gone through enough. I've had enough experience. And I think I have enough knowledge of I can actually really help people truly, not just, hey, how to have a big social following. So I started the book. It took about 10 months. It was an absolute amazing process going through all the old memories and experiences. It is called Fearless Beauty, but it's really great for anybody that's in business. We just actually hit a great milestone on Amazon with over 200 reviews, which if you've ever done a book, getting 100 reviews is a very big deal. I'm sitting at 200, so I'm really proud of that. And the book's actually helped a lot of people. And I have some great endorsements with it. I have Angela Yee. She's one of my business partners. She's on the Breakfast Club. James Bronner is like a legend in the hair industry with the Bronner Brothers Hair Show, which has been around for 75 years. And then John Paul. So JP, he was the actual founder of Paul Mitchell and Patron. So he's a multi-billionaire. And I can tell you that's a whole nother story. It's getting a multi-billionaire to endorse your book. It is not easy. He went through the whole book and really liked it. So it's an easy read. I think it's great and something I'm really proud of. It came out about 6 months ago. So it was a big part of my 2021.
That's amazing. And I'd probably want to just read it for the names of people that you mentioned there. And
yeah.
When it comes to billionaires, that goes to relationships. You have to know the right people.
For sure.
Awesome. Very cool. So let's get to the last piece of this interview then. This is the piece that everybody's waiting for, the snackable solution. And what I found interesting about your snackable solution is that it's very similar to things that people talk about in the wellness space. And I think people will catch on to that as soon as you describe it. So go ahead and tell us what your snackable solution is.
Sure. So my snackable solution is if you focus on growing your business and really focusing on the 1%, how to improve your business 1%, it's going to grow exponentially over time. Because you're going to reach a certain level in business where you're going to make some changes. And it's not like you can just grow your business 50% every single year. Maybe you can, but it's not really realistic. So once you get to 7 figures, especially, you have to start without, a huge influx of money. You have to look at your core business and everything else related to it. And you have to start asking yourself, and you have to be honest, very honest with yourself about this, because most people are like, oh yeah, this is fine and this is fine. But in reality, it probably is okay, but it could be better. And you're going to have to find that 1%. So I talk to my team all the time about, hey, this is what we're doing. And you know what? We're doing a great job. Our clients are happy. But what can we do? What kind of just 1% difference can we make with what we're doing that's going to make a change and make them even a little bit happier? And then you're going to find that there's all these different parts of your business. Really, there's hundreds of parts of your business that you can focus on that 1% and make these little changes. Even on a website, if you get into conversion rate optimization, which is highly important these days because of the iOS updates, so the higher Facebook and Instagram ad spends, focusing on the conversion rate optimization just for your website with A/B testing and looking for those small wins. I have a team that does that for us at Private Label, and it's just week after week, it's some small difference and change that they can make on the website. And you can do that with all aspects of your business. So if you can focus on improving just 1%, making these 1% differences within all these different sectors of your business combined interest will grow rapidly.
That's a great snackable solution. Mikey Moran, how do people find you online?
Most people find me. You can find me on my website, mikeymoran.com, Instagram @MoranMikey. And you can just search Mikey Moran on Google. I pop up nowadays, which is kind of cool. Shoot me a message if you have any questions, or especially if you grab the book, make sure you tag me on Instagram so I can share it. It's amazing. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, Mikey Moran, thank you so much for joining us today on Snackable Solutions. And we will be in touch.
Okay, thanks so much.